The issue with first-person shooters is that players can't see all that juicy action with a limited field of view. That's a shortcoming that top-down shooters don't have. And for some players, they might prefer a more wide view of all that flashy violence. A quick glance at games like Enter the Gungeon, The Ascent, or Hotline Miami proves this point well enough. But as popular as those titles are, some top-down shooters don't exactly get the bird's-eye view recognition that they deserve. First up, Helldivers, Dive Harder Edition. While the sequel may be taking over the internet, its younger brother is nothing to scoff at. This twin-stick shooter is all about protecting the Earth and defeating the enemies of mankind in an intergalactic war. Players thus assume the role of Helldivers, which is an elite team usually deployed into hostile zones for search and rescue operations. But during one of the dives, they uncovered something sinister that could threaten Earth's future. But that's nothing some explosives and a few tons of lead can't handle. Next up, Foxhole. For those craving some World War II action, Foxhole offers a unique view on wargaming. Instead of dying on the ground as a common foot soldier in a claustrophobic view, Foxhole is a massively multiplayer game with a persistent world. Each soldier is controlled by a player who must take a specific role during the battle, from storming the bunkers to driving the tanks. Such an ambitious project is not yet complete as the game is under early access, but any wargame fan ought to take a look at this one. Next up, Ruiner. Before Cyberpunk became way too popular as a theme and setting in video games, titles like Ruiner took some creative risks. This twin-stick shooter is a cool adventure game that revolves around the most philosophical and thought-provoking core ideas of the cyberpunk setting. It also helps that the action is fast, stylish, and unrelenting. Had it been released today, it likely would have been more popular. Next up, Voido. All these twin-stick top-down shooters are rather serious and gritty, so here's something to balance out the themes of it. Voido is vibrant, chaotic, and colorful, though it does focus on boss fights and dynamic combat. Also, the game is a roguelite, so expect some degree of difficulty that's different from the more straightforward games. While the story is mostly cookie-cutter, it's a mere excuse for players to try out builds and fight the game's pinata-like enemies. To be fair, the game doesn't really need context, especially once players see it in action. Finally, Brigador, Up Armored Edition. Similar to Ruiner, Brigador unleashed itself in the gaming industry way before Cyberpunk became popular enough to be in mainstream gaming. Brigador mostly went under the radar, but this game certainly deserves more acclaim based on its soundtrack and visuals alone. Players pilot a mech on an urban rampage to take down the oppressive cyberpunk autocracy. It doesn't get much simpler than that, but cruising through a cyber dystopia streets in a vehicle while being blasted by both synthwave symphonies and gunfire alike was somewhat ahead of its time. From gritty war games to sci-fi experiences, those are our picks for the most underrated top-down shooters. Thank you for watching Game Rant. I'm Cameron. We'll see you next time.